everybody. Hope you're having a great, fantastic week, and you're going to have an amazing weekend ahead. This week, I need to talk about some psychological stuff, and the reason being is I've really kind of changed my entire educational focus in the last couple of months. Maybe you've noticed with some of the podcasts and the YouTube videos I've been putting out. And the reason being, I have really started to come more in tune with how important our minds are and what a difference a positive mindset will make for you and what a difference a negative mindset will make for you or can make for you. And in the 4 years of running Sync My Music, I have had so many interactions with hundreds of producers that unfortunately quit. They bail out of the business. They decide this isn't for them. They gotta go. They gotta do something else. And they've given it a good hard try for a couple of months, maybe even a year or two. But at some point they throw in the towel and they say, that's it, I'm out. Now, the cool thing about where I'm at is I've been able to see all of these personally. So it's like I've been having my own study essentially going on unofficially, but for the last 4 years, I've been sort of seeing over and over again all of these producers coming to me saying, Jesse, I gave it a shot, but I think I got to go. This just isn't working for me. So they tell me every single time, like why they bail out of the business and why this isn't working for them. And you listening to this podcast right now, you might be on the edge right now thinking or wondering, maybe I should just get out while I haven't sunk too much time into this thing. And, I knew this was going to be a long-term plan, but this is really, really long-term. I don't know if I can really stick it out for this kind of a business strategy. This is just maybe too much for me to be able to handle. And some of you feel really good right now and you're like, no, I'm good. But trust me, you'll get there. There will be a day when you might want to come back and revisit this podcast to remember that we all hit that point at some point where we decide, or we are forced to think about that choice, whether or not moving forward with the sync business is the right choice for us. So as I've gotten these emails and I've heard these stories from hundreds of producers, what I was thinking, what I was always assuming from when I first started Sync My Music was that it was a lack of technical knowledge that would cause producers to leave, right? So I would assume, maybe the producer couldn't figure out how to use a DAW program. Like, learning how to use Logic Pro was just too much, too hard. And so they said, this just isn't for me. So I thought that was going to be one of the main reasons. It makes sense, right? There is some technical skills you have to do well in this business. So maybe if you just don't have those skills, it just won't work out for you. Or maybe you didn't, somebody might have a hard time learning how to mix or master their tracks because using all these different plugins from EQs to compressors to limiters, et cetera, that's just a tall order for a lot of people that might not have a lot of background in music and in specifically in using computers, right, to create music. So maybe just having all these extra skills and having to learn all these extra skills is basically like asking somebody to learn an entirely new language, maybe in their 40s or 50s. And so that's just like too much for a lot of people. It's just too much education. It's too much knowledge to pick up. And that's what I assumed. Or, that maybe you just didn't understand. These producers didn't understand the business. So they didn't understand that it takes a while to build up your royalties. It takes a while to really earn your place with a library, to become an inner circle member, that you're really in this for the long-term gain. You're not looking for the short-term hit like a lot of artists and musicians are. They think they just need to get one viral hit and then they're set for life. So I always assume, maybe some of these producers just don't have the right idea about how to really succeed at this. And so they're bailing out because they had their expectations in the wrong place. And on all of those accounts, no, 100% wrong. No, none of those were in play. They all had knowledge. They all understood what it took to do well in this business. And I know that because they were students of mine. And so I'm not misleading anybody into thinking that all you need is just one hit or one placement and then you're set for life. You guys know that I've never said that, and I've always talked about this sort of long-term hustle that this business requires. So I know they had the right knowledge, and I know that they were at least aware of the kind of timeline that it can take to succeed, which is basically a couple of years, right? Not a couple of weeks and not a couple of months, but we're talking about multiple years here to get to the point where you can do this full time. So they had that, and some of them, actually most of them, already had been producing. Maybe they just learned, but they had been producing for quite a while, and they actually had incredible music. And so that was actually another thing that I assumed at some point, well, maybe just their music wasn't that good, and so that's why they're just getting rejected a lot. So of course, at some point, you just throw in the towel because your music's not that good. Nope. I have some of the best music I've ever heard came from producers that sort of came like a hot flash into this industry. They came really hard, really strong. They were really pumping out tons of tracks. They got partnered with a library maybe, but because one reason or another, and we're going to talk about those reasons, they bailed. And it's like, wow, like you have incredible music, high quality, way better than mine. Like, I'll be honest, 100% way better than my music, the abilities that I have at this time in my career. And they know the knowledge and they have the technical skills, obviously, because they're making this incredible music, but they're still leaving. They're still going. So it's like, what's going on there, right? It's kind of interesting because if you had all of these sort of, you would think, technical skills and knowledge and even talent, you would think, what's stopping you? There's no reason why you would bail out of this business. You would just continue on and understand that, hey, I'm just going to keep going with this thing and it's going to work out. And that's not the case. For whatever reason, I think I figured out what this reason is. They are not going the distance, okay? And as I got these emails, they would all tell me basically in the email, this is why I'm leaving. And 100% of the time, I can tell you this without any doubt, that it was a limiting belief or a negative mindset that was the cause of them leaving the industry, of deciding to pull the plug, to throw in the towel, to say, I gave it a shot and I'm out. 100% of the time, because they all had every other technical aspect you could ask of. You know, they had everything that could have been useful for them to succeed and get to the point where they're doing this full time, but they're still quitting. And so the more that I dug into them, the more that I talked to them, the more that they emailed me and let me know what's going on. It's kind of one of the cool things about the conversations that I get to have with a lot of you is you're very open. You're very honest about, hey, you know, this is just not working for me and this is why. I don't think I can do it. This doesn't seem like it's going to be a good fit for me. I just don't think I belong in this industry. These are all just negative mindsets. That's all these things are. Okay, this is all going on 100% between the ears of the producer that's bailing out. Nowhere else. This is all a manufactured thinking. This is manufactured fears that are basically coming out of the brains of these producers that are leaving this business. Now, I really resonate with that because I've struggled with that myself many times. Some of you heard a few episodes back, I talked about when I got fired from composing for an independent film. That really took me into this negative spiral of questioning whether or not I belonged in this business, whether or not I was a fraud, whether or not I had what it took to become, quote unquote, a professional. Even though I was already doing it full time, you would think, well, that's silly. You're already making full-time income. You're a professional. Again, I'm telling you, it's not that. It has nothing to do with income, has nothing to do with your music, has nothing to do with anything. It's all going on inside your brain because you can see people that are extremely, quote unquote, successful. They're getting placements, they're getting income, but they still feel, you know, what's going on between their ears. They feel like a fraud. They feel like an imposer. They feel like, an imposter. They feel like somebody that does not belong in this industry. And so this is all going on within their mind. And it's so powerful, whether or not this is a negative belief we have about ourselves or a positive one. And I think most people that I've come in contact with, especially the producers that I know that have left the industry, it's 100%, it's a negative thinking that's basically got them into this really dark place where they decide, it's too uncomfortable. I'm not having fun. This isn't enjoyable. And every time I think about the future, I just see this dark tunnel. I don't see any light at the end of it. And I just think I'm in the wrong tunnel. I got to get out of here. And so that's all 100%, I believe, due to how you're thinking, how these producers are thinking about themselves and their career. So basically, I was 100% wrong in terms of thinking for the last 4 years, I should just focus on teaching technical knowledge. Because that's really all I've done. You know, I've just talked about like how the industry works, how royalties work, how libraries work, how to produce music, how to mix it, how to master it. You know, and basically with all the tutorials in Sync Academy, and then with all the music library walkthroughs with Sync Edge, it's all technical knowledge I'm giving you guys. Here's how you do things, right? Here's the knowledge for how to do things. But I've completely neglected, and it's because I just wasn't aware how important this stuff was. I've just completely neglected the psychology of what's going on in all of our minds and how important that is. And now I'm realizing that I got 180 degrees the wrong way. I got 100% wrong. I think the first thing that we all should be focusing on is actually our mindset, because I believe that that is the only barrier to success that we have. So Henry Ford once famously said that whether or not you believe you can or you can't, either way, you're right. So what that means is that if you believe you can succeed at something like sync licensing, you're right. You can do that. If you believe you cannot succeed at sync licensing, you're also correct. You will struggle and you will not succeed because your belief will be confirmed essentially for you, and your brain will essentially look for the confirmation details to say, I knew I couldn't succeed because there is a very disappointing royalty check. I knew it, I'm out of here. Or I don't think I can succeed. See, I got rejected by a library. There's my confirmation. I knew I couldn't. I knew I was right. Now I'm out of here, right? This is how the mind works. It basically wants to conform to the story that we originally told ourselves when we began, any journey that we get a part of, that we embark upon, right? And so I 100% believe that you might think, well, my mixing isn't great yet, my mastering isn't there yet, I don't quite have all the technical knowledge about how this industry works or how to get to where I want to go to, and I need to have all those things in place before I succeed. And so that might be this thing that you're sort of keeping yourself locked, right? You're not moving forward because you still feel like there's some technical knowledge that you don't have. I think that's 100% wrong. I think actually what you need to do is believe that you can succeed. Is actually literally, and if you don't believe it, you need to fake it until you do succeed. And we're going to talk about ways shortly how you can do that. But you really do need to put this positive, productive, healthy, excited mindset into your life, and you need to practice it, and you need to rehearse it, and you need to make it a habit. Because what happens is once you have this at your back, right, you have this sort of secret tool, which is that, this kind of like, I know I can do this kind of mindset, that sort of can-do attitude. Once you have that, all the technical knowledge you could ever need will fall into place when it needs to fall into place. Now that sounds maybe crazy, hippy-dippy, new age, spiritual, mumbo-jumbo stuff. It's absolutely true. You only need to just believe that you can do something and have that just absolute, taking failure off the table kind of an attitude. Because what happens is when you need to learn something, you'll find it. The technical knowledge will fall itself. It will fall into place, and it will present itself to you when it needs to be presented to you. You will find the knowledge that you need when you need it. You don't need to get all the technical knowledge all at once. This is a big, I think, mistake that a lot of producers are embarking upon. Maybe you are. You think you need to have every little bit of technical knowledge before you really commit to this, or before you really submit to that first library, before you start making your first album. I don't have all the technical knowledge. I don't know exactly how to mix or master. I don't know exactly how to do this or do that. So I'm just not going to get started yet. I need to watch more tutorials. I need to do this. I need to do that. This is not the way to success. The starting point of success is just do it. Just go for it. Just have that mindset of like, I can succeed. And I might not have all the knowledge right now, but when I need it, I'll find it. Like I'll find a way to do it because I know that I can succeed, right? Luckily for many of you that are subscribed to this podcast and to my YouTube channel, you already have most of the technical knowledge you'll probably need ever in this industry. There's of course some things that are going to fall through the cracks that I don't even know yet. But if you've been following me for any significant chunk of time, like you've already got most of the technical knowledge, especially if you're in Sync Edge and or Sync Academy. I mean, good Lord, you have more than enough, and it's all at your disposal, and you can look this stuff up whenever you'd like to, right? So that's the one thing you got to remember is that you have these resources. You can get the technical knowledge. You can get this stuff you can understand this stuff and learn this stuff as you need to, day by day, one at a time. That stuff you can always do. That's not the hard stuff. It's the believing that you can push through it and even find that knowledge and make sure that you're going to, when you get it, put it into place, start practicing it, and move to that next point in your sync licensing career. So this brings me to why I have spent the last few months developing a brand new course that is going to go into some subjects that I've really only scratched the surface of in this podcast and in my YouTube videos. And it's going to be called Sync Psych 101. So essentially the psychology of what's going on with all of our minds as sync licensing producers. And it's going to be deep. It's going to be interesting. It's going to go heavy into some really fascinating topics. We are going to be talking about things like meditation, like affirmations, like vision boards, like reframing and persuasion and hypnosis. We are talking about some pretty interesting things that some of you your eyes are already rolling because you're like, oh God, what is this stuff he's getting into, right? And I used to think the same thing. A few years back, I probably would have rolled my eyes as well. And I have to tell you, due to all the interesting life changes being thrown at me this year, I have been using every single one of these skills and have never been let down yet. And I've actually only seen incredible benefits from using these awesome, powerful new tools that are at my disposal. And I know 100% because you guys are going through your own struggles, right? Each one of you has your own individual, unique struggle and difficulties, actually, obviously getting to where you want to get to in your career. That these are individually all going to be very powerful tools for you. But we are not only just going to talk about generally, how to meditate or what meditation can do for you, but we're going to talk about how these tools can be useful for you specifically in the sync licensing business, and specifically even more for essentially a producer that's on your path to becoming a full-time producer. Now, if you're already doing this fairly well and you already got some great income, this will certainly be useful for you. I don't want you to think this is only for newcomers or beginners or anything like that. But I know for sure one of the main reasons why so many producers are bailing out in the first 6 months to a year of this industry is because they don't have this stuff in place. They don't have these tools. They just don't have access to it. They've never been exposed to it. They don't know about this stuff. And they certainly have not been taught by somebody like me who's been doing this for 12 years and has been where you are, right? Like I know exactly how those feelings of fear and inadequacy and feeling like you might not make it and having the patience to wait for those royalties. I mean, good Lord, I know about all of those things that you guys have been going through. So you're going to be basically hearing this from someone who has credibility on the subject, okay? And not just somebody who's sitting around in a drum circle and talking about positive energy. We're talking about real life sync licensing business and strifes and the specific struggles that we go through in this little side of the music business. So that's what's coming here, actually this coming Monday, October 5th. So I will release all the details about it on my YouTube channel this Monday. So I encourage you, if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, just look me up, Sync My Music. Watch for that video coming on Monday because I'll have a presentation as to what Sync Psych 101 is all about, what's included in it, what kind of problems it's going to address, what the topics are for the initial 10. We have 10 tutorials that we're going to release with it, but that number will grow as we get more feedback from those of you that join us and start to give us some helpful comments and feedback on what you think, and also what topics we might not have covered yet. And these topics, just so you know, we didn't pull these out of the sky and think, these are the 10 we're going to start with. These 10 topics came directly from Sync Academy members that I've had constant conversations with for the last couple of months. So we've had some Zoom chats, we've had some Google Hangout chats. I've been asking many of them to comment and let me know what their psychological, what their fears are, what they're dealing with. And so we've been compiling, lots and lots of stories and lots of data from a lot of you guys in terms of what you're really going through now. And that's the whole point of Sync Psych 101, is to directly address the real issues that you guys are facing, not hypothetical ones, not ones that we think, maybe someday you'll come in contact with this. But these are the issues that directly came from my students, that came from the community in Sync Academy. So that's how I know this is absolutely going to hit it on the nail for many of you guys that have been struggling with this. And my hope is, and I believe this is going to really do well, is I think it's going to set a lot of you guys free, because I think a lot of you guys are paralyzed in fear right now. You guys are really stuck and really worried that it's not going to work out for you. And you've been stuck in this negative spiral for far too long. And my hope with this course is that it's finally going to be your first step. Now you have to do the work. We're not doing the work for you. I don't want you to think that you watch a magical video and suddenly all of your negative thinking is gone, poof, like magic. It doesn't work that way. It's a practice. You have to obviously work at this. It's just like anything else. You have to sort of make it a habit. But my hope is that many of you guys that do watch these tutorials and participate will at least have that door opened to realize that you don't have to sit in jail anymore. You don't have to sit in this dingy tunnel that has no light in it, that just has foul air and makes you feel that there's no hope for the future. hopefully you can at least see that there is a door open and you can start taking your own steps towards that door to get out of wherever the place that you've been stuck for maybe too long, maybe months or even years. You've been kind of stuck in a really funky place. It's not fun. It makes life just suck, actually. So that's my goal and that's my hope with this new awesome course that I'm super excited about. It's just been something that has been, these are the tools that I've been personally using. So for me to be able to share these things with you guys, it's just like, that's just an awesome, really cool part of being able to run Sync My Music, is to be able to share stuff that really works. Again, I don't do this by watching other people's videos or reading books and going, hey, I read this cool book about this. You guys should try this out. These are things that I do. These are the practices that I've actually employed. Just like with everything that I teach you guys about sync licensing, it's not hypothetical. It's not that I've read something, that I've heard this works. I teach you what I know. I teach you what I've actually lived, the experience, the actual path that I've walked on. That's the actual path that I give you guys with everything that I do. So stay tuned, guys. October 5th, this coming Monday, Sync Psych 101 is coming your way. Check out my YouTube channel. You'll learn more about it there. There'll be a link to sign up if you want to get access to it right away. It will be included, just so you know, with your Sync Academy membership. So if you're a Sync Academy member, good for you. You're going to get access to this included with your membership. If you're not yet a Sync Academy member, I encourage you to consider joining us. It's an incredible platform, extremely helpful, very motivational. And now with these new tutorials coming online just in a couple of days, you have everything you need to move forward. Of course, you got to take those steps, you got to make the effort, but you've got every asset and resource you could possibly need to take the steps necessary to get to full-time income with sync licensing. All it matters now is, are you going to make the choice to do that, right? Now that's in your hands. That's not up for me to decide. That's up for you to make that choice. So thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you found this episode insightful, useful, educational, whatever it might have been for you. And I just can't stress enough how important this psychological stuff is, like how important what goes on between your ears is for the future of your success and your career. So even if you're 100% skeptical, you think this might be all hogwash, I say, what do you got to lose? Give it a shot. If you're stuck, if you're feeling fear, if you're feeling like you're paralyzed, if you're feeling like this isn't really working out great for you yet, well, whatever you've been doing got you to where you are now, right? So let's go ahead and give it another shot. Let's just try something else. Let's go a different path. Let's sort of go ahead and see if some other way of thinking about this might get us different results, right? That's all you can ask for, and that's all I'm hoping that you at least give this a shot and at least give an open-minded view. So thank you so much, guys. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for listening to the Sync My Music podcast. If you enjoyed the show and want me to do more episodes, all that I ask is that you leave me a review on whatever platform or app that you're listening to. It just takes a few seconds. I'll never charge for this podcast, and I want to keep it 100% ad-free. And your review right now will help me do just that. Thank you so much.